Um, welcome to um 716 Sports Blizzard, and I'm gonna talk some football with Robyn.
Hello. My name is Robyn Mundy, and I'm the editor in chief for the Buffalo Fanbase.com blog. You can find us. We do all kinds of great articles. We have a great guy by the name of Dean Kindig, who Robby knows, who does really good draft stuff. And so I'm here today with Robby so we can start working on getting ready for the upcoming season and Robby's podcast. So we have several questions that we're going to ask to each other today. And do you want me to get started first, Robby?
Yeah, you can.
Okay. I'll ask the first question. So I'm going to ask you, Robby. I would like to know, who is your favorite wide receiver on the Buffalo Bills now? Because there's a lot of
Um,
new faces.
my so my favorite wide receiver, um since there's a lot of new faces out there, um is Marquez Scanling, the the guy we just got from Kansas City.
Oh, MVS. I just call him MVS for short. That's a
Yeah,
good that's a good choice. Robby, what do you like about him?
I like his his speed.
He's
Cause,
fast.
'cause he won two Super Bowls.
Mhm. He's fast, he's won Super Bowls, and he played for the Chiefs, so anything we can do to take anything away from them, right?
Just like one of our new defensive guys.
We have plenty of them to talk about as well. So, you want to know who my favorite wide receiver is on this team this year? Well, I'll tell you. It's somebody who's already on the team. It's the only wide receiver that Josh Allen has thrown a ball to on the roster, and his name is Khalil Shakir. And the reason I guess I'm picking him as my favorite, maybe because I remember watching him play for Boise State. And then when he was drafted by the Bills, I was so excited. And of course, you know how Sean McDermott is with rookies, and it takes him a while, especially with wide receivers, to let them have the ball a lot. So I kept waiting and waiting for Khalil Shakir to make his appearance, and he would play a little bit here and there. But I think it was around the middle of last season. Maybe it was when Joe Brady took over as the OC. It seemed like Khalil Shakir just took off. And he can play in the slot, he can play on the outside. He's got great hands. He does not drop anything thrown his way. I just think he's one of the most versatile wide receivers they have on the roster. And of course, I mean, we're both kind of excited about having Keon Coleman, right? I mean, he's looking like kind of an interesting guy, don't you think?
Yeah, but like the Bills posted earlier today, they didn't sign him yet.
Well, that's true. That's true. So we have to make sure we take care of business, right?
Yeah.
But MVS, I think that's a very good selection. He's going to be sneaky good and probably will contribute a lot more than I think most people realize, don't you?
Yeah, I could see that. He would contribute a little bit more than um what most people are
Right.
saying.
Right. And I do think they're going to take it slow with Keon Coleman. They're probably not going to want to put a lot on his plate too soon. And who else do we have that's going to like be so good this year that the attention is going to get taken away? I think Dalton Kincaid is going to have a huge year this year. I think this is going to be his breakout year. And I don't want to put too much on him, but I do think he's ready for whatever comes his way. And so people are saying, and I wondered what you thought about this too, Robby. People are saying, well, the Bills are going to take a step back because they got rid of Stephon Diggs. And so now they're not going to be as good as they were last year. And I don't agree with that. I think that this receiving group is deeper than they were last year. And they have bigger, more diverse, different kinds of wide receivers. So I do believe that actually they may even be better than they were last year, not worse. So that's what I think. What do you think?
I think like now that like they moved on from Diggs, I
Mm-hmm.
think I think the team will be a little bit more consistent with
Mm-hmm.
with with Diggs not being there.
Yeah, it's going to be very different, that's for sure. Okay, so I think we've pretty much solved that question. Now, my next question for you, because I have 5 questions for Robby today, and he's ready for every single one of them because he said so. So, this one, I'm really interested. I really want to know what you think about this. Which team do you think in the AFC East is going to be the most difficult competition for the Bills? Who's going to give them the most trouble?
Well, I think it could be either Miami Dolphins or the Jets.
Mm-hmm.
I
Do you
mean,
think do you think one more so than the other or both?
um I think maybe like the Jets because like their field is different than Highmark Stadium.
That's true. They have one of the worst places to have to play in terms of injuries.
Yeah.
MetLife is and it's nasty. I don't know if they fixed it yet or not. Were they going to go? I don't know if we're going to go to grass or not. So you think Miami might be a big problem for the Bills this year?
Well, like I mean, we're lucky we're getting them early in the season.
Mm-hmm.
So in that way
Mm-hmm.
it's not like um cuz cuz in their stadium the
It gets
sun
pretty
is on the
hot
yeah, and the sun is on the visitor side.
on purpose. Of course, it's on purpose, but you're right. And the game is at night. So I think that's going to be a big help as well.
Yeah.
It'll be hopefully not quite so hot. But I did see, and I don't know if you saw this, Tyreek Hill is now asking for another contract. Did you hear that?
I haven't heard that, no, but
That might be a problem for them, huh? How are they going to pay all these people all this money that they want? I hope it causes a big problem for them.
yeah.
And the Jets, I think, in my opinion, well, of course, everything depends on Aaron Rodgers, right? Whether or not he's really healthy and if he can make it through a whole season. But I've always had a lot of respect for their head coach. I think he's a pretty good head coach. And he's not like one of these offensive minded head coaches that's all the rage now. He's like Sean McDermott, and he's a defensively minded head coach. And I think they could pose a problem. They definitely have a better quarterback if Aaron Rodgers stays healthy. It's not a secret because I've been on other podcasts talking about the fact that I'm not Tua Tagovailoa's Tagovailoa, I guess is how you say his name. I'm not his greatest fan. And I am actually very worried about him. He was lucky to make it through last season without getting injured. And I don't know what to think about whether or not he's going to be able to pull off another season without getting another concussion. And he's just one concussion away from having a serious problem. So I worry about him a lot in that regard. Speaking of quarterbacks, okay, because we're working up to question number 3 here. And this is one of my favorite questions. Do you think that Josh Allen will have his best year yet this year? And if so, why?
Like, as in, is he gonna have like a breakout season?
Yeah. You know, where he wins MVP and all that kind of stuff. Hi, Kevin.
Um,
Thanks for the comment about the pod. We're rocking it tonight, Robby.
yeah. He, like like you said earlier, um, he has Dalton Kincaid, Khalil Shakir,
He's got
um,
he's got
Dawson Knox.
yes. People forget about Dawson Knox, don't they?
Yeah. And and now we're gonna have another new center snapping the ball to Josh Allen.
Connor McGovern. Yes. And you bring up a very good point there because one of the things that I've thought a lot about in the last year or so is when you watch the offensive line when Mitch Morse was playing, Mitch Morse, I don't want to call him undersized, but he wasn't huge. So he got pushed back a little bit. And I think that he also was a person I worried about for concussions, that if he got hit in the head again, that he was going to miss a lot of time. So I'm happy that Connor McGovern is moving over to center. And then we have drafted a center from Georgia, right?
Yeah.
So I think we should be in pretty good shape there. So yeah, if the offensive line holds together like it did last year, I mean, it's pretty unusual for the offensive line to not have one single player go out with an injury all season long, not even for a snap. It was amazing. Absolutely amazing. Can it happen again 2 years in a row? We hope so. Because if Josh Allen gets that kind of protection, I think he could have his best season. Statistically, you can talk about touchdowns, whatever. The bottom line is, and I think we all know this, it's time for Josh Allen to win a Super Bowl. Not
Yeah.
only is it time for Josh Allen to win a Super Bowl, it's time for the Buffalo Bills to win a Super Bowl. But this year, he's got a number of weapons. We haven't even talked about James Cook, right?
No, we haven't.
I mean, James Cook could be having a breakout year as well. So there's a lot of weapons on the offense that Josh Allen has this year that I think everything is kind of coming together to where if it doesn't happen, it's probably going to be because of some kind of injury bug or whatever that happens to the team. But I think so far what they've put together, they've got Josh Allen in the best place for him to have the best season of his career, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think like this year, if the Bills' offensive line has their consistency, I think they could. I think the Bills will have a good season.
I think that's right on. Okie doke. Now we're moving right along here. How do you think this offense is going to look different this year?
I think the offense will look different because we'll have Connor McGovern as the center, and then they'll have like a whole new front four except for like Khalil Shakir and Knox and Kincaid.
There's a lot of new faces on the offense.
Yeah, because we lost Gabe Davis to Jacksonville and also Mitch Morris.
Yeah, Jacksonville sniped a few of our players, and I wish them the best of luck, but not when they're playing against us, right?
Yeah, and then Diggs going to Houston.
That's a big one, and I don't know about you, but I think the Texans might be very good this year. They surprised a lot of people last year.
I mean, Houston could be good if CJ Stroud is as good as when he was out in Ohio.
Yeah, I think he could blow up, and they could be a really fearsome team to beat this year. And the Bills' schedule looks pretty rough, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean the first few games it looks pretty rough.
It does, but there's primetime games. That's the other thing. But I don't worry about that too much in terms of the difficulty because you can't really tell from one year to the next. Because just like the Bills team has changed so many players, so have a lot of other teams too. So, and then you never know about injuries and things like that. So I think it's too hard to say. That's why I've never been very comfortable. People always ask me, well, what is your prediction? What is your prediction? And I'm not very good at predicting because I just think there's too many things that can go wrong to be able to say, oh, the Bills are going to be 13-4. I don't know. We'll have to see. So the offense is probably going to look somewhat different just because now Joe Brady has his own offense to put into play, right? And I don't
Yeah.
know what you think, but I thought the other guy that played really well once there was a change in the OC when Joe Brady took over, I thought James Cook played really well after Joe Brady took over the offense because Cook kind of reminds me of other smaller running backs that I've seen in the past. And it doesn't even just do with being small, but being able to get in a rhythm and being able to run the ball in a rhythm on a drive. It seemed like I liked Ken Dorsey, but it seemed like he never really knew how to use James Cook. But we'll see how he feels about what he's doing in Cleveland, Mr. Dorsey, Coach Dorsey. Okay, so we both think the offense is probably going to look a lot different just because there's different faces on the team. But
Yeah.
do you think they'll run the ball more, Robby?
Like use James Cook and all the other running backs. I think they could run the ball more, like as in play action type plays that that Joe Brady could put into play.
Joe Brady seems like he's a pretty creative guy. And I'll never forget that game against Dallas when James Cook blew up and had over 200 yards of offense. That was crazy. They just kept feeding him the ball. And remember when Josh Allen said after the game, well, I didn't get to do much, but I guess I still get the same paycheck, so it's okay. He didn't have to do very much because all James Cook did was run, 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 catch the ball, run, run. It was incredible. But I do think that Joe Brady's going to have different. They said it's going to look a little different, but some of the same concepts. So we shall see. It's going to be very interesting. Okay, moving right along. My next and last question to you is right along when I asked about the offense, do you think the defense is going to look different this year?
The I think like Ed Oliver will have a um good season. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I like Greg Russo.
Mm-hmm. This should be a
Um
big year for him, huh, Robby?
yeah, and like when Buffalo got Von Miller, he wasn't the same as what he was out in Denver.
That's true. That's true. But the same thing happened to Russell Wilson when he went to Denver. He didn't do very much for Denver either. It's going to be interesting to see if anything he does with Pittsburgh. But getting back to our defense, yeah, you have to worry a little bit about Von Miller because of his age, right? And coming back from serious injury at his age is much more difficult than when the guys are a lot younger. And I agree with you about Ed Oliver having a big year. I think that's absolutely true. And I don't know about you, but I'm looking forward to seeing Dwayne Carter, our defensive tackle from Duke that's coming. He sounds like he is a ball of energy. And I think that's kind of what the defensive line needs is they need that injection of youth there because they had guys last year that were playing in the latter part of their career, like Puna Ford, and those guys didn't quite live up to what I think they had hoped. And so now they'll be younger. And I think with Dwayne Carter next to Ed Oliver, that could look really interesting. And of course, we have Daquan Jones, right? Daquan Jones is the best. I I was so happy that he decided to come back to Buffalo. I was worried that we might lose him.
Yeah,
What do you think about Matt Milano coming back?
I think like from his injury, it might be a little bit longer for him to come back to like full full strength.
It is, and they're going to have to work him in slowly. On my Tea Time with Robyn podcast that I do with T, we talked about Matt Milano, and what happened to him was something different than what they originally thought. He had what they call a tibial plateau fracture, which is at the very top of the knee, the bone that connects to the knee from the lower leg. And sometimes that takes a lot longer to heal, and sometimes it doesn't heal right. And so that's why I think they're being really careful with him and bringing him along slowly, which I think they need to do, because don't you think we really need him back? I do. We missed him last year.
Yeah, I think like on the defensive side of the ball, I think they did miss him last year, but I think this this season, as long as they work him in slowly, I think he'll come back and he'll be okay.
Crossing all my fingers and toes and everything I can cross. I hope you're right about that. And if he does, that defense is going to be fierce. Because the other thing, too, is different. I forgot to mention this. We have Bobby Babich Jr. now as our defensive coordinator. So last year, Sean McDermott called all the plays on defense. And it doesn't sound like they're going to say whether or not he's going to do it again this year. My guess is he might start out that way. Hey, James. He might start out that way, but I think as time goes on, Bobby Babich Jr. will take over. And if you haven't seen, there's a great interview that he did today on BuffaloBills.com. So if you're interested in getting to know anything about Bobby Babich Jr., have a listen to that podcast or that interview. It's very interesting. Well, that is all I have for you tonight, my friend. This is our first podcast. I think we killed it.
Yeah, and
We'll be back before training camp.
yeah,
Do another podcast before training camp starts, and we'll figure out when it's going to be, and then we'll let everybody know. Okay.
Yeah, and
Logan managed to keep himself off our podcast, but that isn't going to last for long. Logan
no,
Toth, is that how you say Logan's name? Okay,
yeah,
Logan is our producer and our benefactor and our friend, and we're going to get his butt on the show. So there. That's what I have to say about that.
yeah, and
Did you want to say anything in conclusion, Robby, before we shut this show down?
Go Bills.
Yes, go Bills. But also, I want to say to you, thank you for inviting me to be a part of your podcast. I hope we can do more shows together and that we'll have more fun as the season goes on. This is a pretty good first show, I think.
Yeah, and I don't know if Logan heard us.
If he didn't, he'll hear us when he listens to the podcast again in review. Thanks for listening, James. Okay, well, I think we've concluded our first podcast, the 716 Sports Blizzard podcast with Robby Snyder.
Yeah.
That's Robby Snyder. This is Robyn Mundy, and I want to say thank you for tuning in. Go Bills!
Go Bills.